To overturn a stripped Continental championship, you do not argue about sportsmanship. You do not argue about the referee's judgment. You submit to the strict, uncompromising mechanics of international sports arbitration. The baseline facts of the 2026 Africa Cup of Nations final are documented. At the 98th minute, in protest of a penalty decision, the Senegalese National Team walked off the pitch. After a 14-minute delay, they returned, completed the match, and secured a 1-0 victory in extra time. They were crowned champions on the field. 2 months later, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, stripped Senegal of that title. You are now sitting in on a formal appellate strategy session. Our objective is to prove the CAF Appeal Board's ruling is legally defective, stripping them of the authority to alter the match result. This requires a rigorous legal stress test of appellate arbitration at the highest level, terminating at the Court of Arbitration for Sport in Switzerland. The weapon CAF used to nullify Senegal's victory is Article 82 of their competition regulations, the punitive trigger for forfeiture. Our strategy begins with the text. We will prove that meeting the precise written conditions of Article 82 was mathematically and legally impossible at the exact moment the walk-off occurred. Simultaneously, we address the jurisprudence. We will demonstrate that established CAS case law explicitly shields completed matches from retroactive nullification. The standard of review governing this entire appeal is the principle of lex certa. This is the doctrine of statutory predictability, which forbids a governing body from implying severe punishments without explicit written rules authorizing them. By systematically dismantling CAF's textual and jurisprudential arguments, this appeal will strip the appeal board of any valid jurisdictional authority to confiscate the championship. We begin with the fundamental rule of interpretation for this dispute. Under Article 116 of the AFCON regulations, the French text fait. Fait is a legal standard establishing that the French text is the sole authoritative version. All English translations are legally irrelevant. Looking at the authoritative French text of Article 82, we isolate the exact punitive trigger. A team forfeits if they walk off the pitch avant la fin réglementaire du match, before the regulatory end of the match. We define fin réglementaire using the sport's universal laws. Under IFAB Law 7.1, a match is strictly composed of 2 45-minute periods. The regulatory end is exactly 90 minutes. Senegal's walk-off occurred at the 98th minute. We map that onto the legal framework. The 98th minute is categorized as temps additionnel, or stoppage time. This is a discretionary allowance governed solely by the referee's judgment. It is entirely separate from the strict 90-minute regulatory composition. CAF will attempt a counter-argument. They will claim that fait réglementaire should be read broadly to encompass extra time or prolongations. The regulations neutralize this defense. Articles 41 and 75.11 of CAF's own rulebook explicitly dictate that prolongations occur after regulatory time. The regulatory structure treats them as strictly sequential, distinct phases. The walk-off occurred 8 minutes after the strict textual boundary of Article 82 had already closed. Because the event happened outside the defined window, the forfeiture clause was never legally engaged. To prove this specific wording was a deliberate limitation and not an accident, we shift to a comparative analysis. Global football governing bodies know exactly how to write sweeping forfeiture laws. Consider the UEFA disciplinary regulations, specifically Article 27.1. UEFA uses a played in full standard. They deliberately omit any temporal or regulatory limits. If a match is abandoned at any point, the forfeit triggers. The FIFA disciplinary code utilizes the exact same full completion standard as UEFA. A core appellate principle of statutory drafting dictates that choosing a specific, narrow phrase like fin réglementaire over an available broader phrase legally restricts punitive reach. CAF drafted the sweeping powers of FIFA and UEFA out of their own rulebook. They cannot retroactively claim those powers now. CAF is attempting a bait and switch. They are enforcing a FIFA-style full completion rule, while legally bound by their own temporally restricted text. We pivot to the second part of our strategy, jurisprudential precedent. The CAF Appeal Board rests its entire justification on a single cornerstone case, the 2019 WYDAD arbitration. The material facts of WYDAD are distinct. In that final, the team made a definitive, irrevocable refusal to resume play. The legal consequence was absolute. The referee was forced to permanently cancel the match. There was no sporting conclusion to protect. We contrast WYDAD directly with the factual matrix of the 2026 Senegal final. Senegal returned to the pitch, they played the remainder of the match, and they generated a certified 1-0 result in extra time. The existence of a certified sporting conclusion renders the WYDAD precedent inapplicable. The legal status of a match changes once a final whistle is blown on a completed scoreline. Applying an irrevocable abandonment precedent to a completed match is a false legal equivalence. A temporary suspension that yields a completed 120-minute match, physically and legally, cannot be penalized under abandonment case law. We arrive at the ultimate standard of review that invalidates the CAF ruling, the principle of lex certa. The controlling authority here is CAS 2019/A/6226, World Anti-Doping Agency versus AEPSAD. Headnote 6 of that ruling mandates nulla pena sine lege clara, no penalty without a clear law. CAF is executing the sport's most severe sanction, retroactive title stripping, without explicit textual authorization. The appeal board failed to analyze the authentic French text. They improperly conflated separate regulatory phases to manufacture a violation. In international sports arbitration, you cannot imply a severe sanction. It must be expressly written. The CAF appeal board's ruling violates the absolute bedrock of arbitration law. They punished a team based on an unwritten, fabricated interpretation of their rules. We deliver our final summation to the CAS panel. First, the textual window for a forfeiture penalty closed 8 minutes before the walk-off ever occurred. Next, the WYDAD ruling offers no authority to nullify a match that reaches a 120-minute sporting conclusion. The CAF decision lacks all foundation. It must be immediately reversed, and the AFCON title restored to its rightful winners. Protecting the integrity of the sport requires ruthlessly protecting the strict letter of its laws. The appellate strategy you just reviewed is structurally sound, but it was not authored by a human litigator. This uncompromising, multi-layered legal brief was drafted entirely by an AI legal research assistant. The underlying agentic framework relies on Claude acting as the primary governing agent, supported by foundational models including Kimi, ChatGPT, and Gemini. A critical human-in-the-loop methodology binds the AI to strict legal rubrics. This ensures exact jurisprudential accuracy and prevents the system from hallucinating case law. This is the baseline for bridging advanced AI solutions with high-stakes sectors like international law and finance. Review the complete methodology at projecthamburg.org.